Hi.
Nice.
Painting a thing.
Nice.
You get.
We're live.
I'm painting a thing.
Who's going to be first? That's the real question.
They're mad at us for not being here on Friday.
That's true. Paint liquor. Big Bob.
Hey, Bob didn't even say anything.
Big Bob just gave a thumbs up. It takes a minute for the emoji to load on this, but
Oh.
why you early?
It's
Because
2 o'clock. Literally, it says right there on the screen, 2 o'clock.
It's 2 o'clock. Paint
My
liquor.
watch says 2:01.
Welcome in, everybody.
Today we're painting with a big brush.
That is our new product right there. It's called the DA 10,000.
I should tape like
You should do so.
should tape like a real brush
You could.
on it.
That's a good painting challenge. Panic Bomb, Dusty Hobbies. Welcome in, everybody. Rattle Can. And here I was a few years ago asking for a monument brush for painting my fence. There it is. It's right in front of you.
We got you, baby.
Colonel, how are you doing? That's a
needs to,
big
like-
freaking brush. It is. Dusty Hobbies
Needs to like hang
with the
on the
resub.
wall right there.
Thank you so much, Dusty Hobbies. Thank you for that sub.
Needs to hang right
Oh, okay.
there. Or yeah, like
I'll
right-
put that on the
right
chalkboard that doesn't exist yet, but the chalkboard.
The
of my,
chalkboard.
The chalkboard of my mind. There you go.
We don't have a chalkboard.
We
Chris.
have a
Thank
chalkboard.
God we don't have a chalkboard. Can you imagine?
Just
There'd
the.
be chalk all over the carpet. That one room's already horrible the way it is. So
Oh yeah, we don't talk about the graveyard. Sugar Rush. Welcome in, everybody. We are painting up some Sanguinius today.
Sanguinius.
Last week we did several VODs on the wings, so if you missed that, check that workup out. It was great. The trust me process for sure.
Sarlacquinius.
Sarlacquinius? Oh yes, that's true.
We've got to do a little bit more white on the wings. I promised I did actually finish them.
Elliot, are there has a question. Are there plans to make any more hats like Jason is wearing?
Yes.
I'd be super interested to get one.
Yes, we have been horrible with the production of hats and clothing in general. We are fixing that, or at least the goal is to fix that. I need water in my. Oh no, I don't. I have some.
Got it?
Ha! I will not be
There it is.
airbrushing today. I will steal airbrush water.
Nice.
I always love pouring clean. Here, let's do this on screen so everybody else can enjoy it.
Oh,
with
what
me.
are you doing?
I love the floaties in the water,
the amoebas.
right? So it's like the paint floaties.
Uh-huh.
And I love pouring fresh water into the floaties because it gets all the solids stirred up. See that?
Ugh, gross, man. Whoa.
See that?
That's wild. Okran, Blood Walrus, Iterator, Sugar Rush, Wad. Welcome in, everybody.
So now that is some percentage of fresh water
Some
and mostly not fresh water.
Some percentage. That's definitely our asterisk right there.
That is some percentage.
Some percentage.
I am some percentage of nice human.
Sugar Rush, you tease the heavy bodies. How long after Adepticon till I can buy them? Oh, we did do that.
I will have a better understanding of that soon. We just got you saw the shot in the tease, right?
Yep.
And so I need to go back and see what kind of timing we're looking at for full production. Those were the approved samples for the labels and caps. And as soon as we get all that nailed down, I'll have a better understanding. My hope would be sometime, April, May-ish tops. I don't think they're as big of a interference with the other 24 colors because they're a totally new thing, and I think it's going to be really neat to have that out. So sooner than later. It has taken a little bit of a back burner just because of all the work we've been doing with the 24 new colors. So there's that, but it shouldn't delay it too much.
Colonel, normally I get those floaties when you can clean your brush after painting with metallics. That's gross, Jason. Don't drink that water.
I mean, nobody's supposed to drink that water unless you're the idiot from Army Painter.
There it is.
Sorry, was that my outside voice? The But
You're killing me, Smalls.
You're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. But I'm hoping that the heavy bodies are sooner than later, like I said.
So, Jason, what are you doing today?
Transparent white. Same thing we were doing the last time you saw me, which was Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while, chat. But we didn't do these outer long feathers on his other wing on Thursday. So we're using the transparent white. You can see how I've brightened up the top portion of all of the feathers over here. Mm-hmm. Left all of that other color that we've got down in the shadows. It gives us a lot more contrast, and I just haven't done that to these long feathers on this side. I did it to all of these up in here, and then the buzzer ran out, and Chris doesn't let me stay late, so...
Hey, whoa.
It's Chris's fault.
We did stay late.
It's Chris's fault, chat. All of this, the fact that I'm having to do white again, yet again, is due to producer undersight.
We run a tight ship.
We run a tight ship.
Tight ship, chat.
When Chris says it's time to go, we go.
We got a lot done this weekend, chat. Thank you for your understanding for
Holy
Friday.
crud, did we?
We got a lot done. The vibe is good. The new setup in the office.
I really dig it.
I think it's great. I actually really like hearing Philip, Jordan, and Kenny.
I think it's great, right?
Yeah. Pretty soon we'll have like 50 people in there, and it'll just be like, ding, 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 we made sale.
So, Chad, it might seem odd, and if you have never been to HQ, you won't understand the impact this has, but our building is a big horseshoe shape, right? Uh-huh. And so if you can think of the horseshoe, where as you're looking at it over here, was always the fulfillment side of the building, right? So some administrative work, all the fulfillment managers, sales management, all that was over here. Then the back side of the building was a big thick barn. It was warehouse and production. And then the other leg of the horseshoe coming down was marketing. And so we were divided. It's actually a fairly large building. So, since it's not a complete circle, we were very divided one side of the building to the other when you're at the tip of the horseshoe. And what we've done is we moved production to another building. So we have a second building offsite. All of production and a lot of warehousing is at that other facility. Some warehousing is here to handle fulfillment and shipping of orders. We moved fulfillment to where production is in the back spot, and we moved all of admin over to the same portion and remodeled that whole side of the building. So we've got a really neat space. My office, Jen's office, Kyle, Chris, Gabe, all the sales team, marketing team. Alex, our new marketing person, just came in today. She's over there with us. So everybody's in this same big area, which is really, really nice because that's the way the company started a long time ago, was with all of us in kind of a big bullpen area. And just for, everybody gaining the culture on a day-to-day basis. We have a lot of fun around here, and there's a lot of conversations a lot of people can learn from, and so that's all back in effect now, which is really exciting.
No name, I've run out of ideas. Is that you, Mike?
It's Mike.
That's Mike. Do white again is a weird thing to hear coming back to the stream. Yep, it is. Welcome back.
But where's Poppy? In Jen's office, on Jen's lap 90% of the time.
Yes, this is true.
Not even lying. If she's not on Jen's lap, she's in her crate, wishing she was on Jen's lap or asleep. That's the dog. That is the company mascot, much to Cora's chagrin.
That's true. Well, you put Jordan in a closet under the stairs, correct? No, Jordan is...
No, he's part of that whole sales team. He's over there.
Not Harry Potter.
I have to listen to him all day again.
Yeah, now it's amplified.
Thought I was done with that guy.
Phoenix Mercer been gone for a while. How is it going, gang?
Phoenix, what's happening?
Well, don't know how long it's been, but we definitely redid the stream here.
Remodeled at the beginning of the year during the holidays. Christopher, our producer, has taken a ton of time to make the space an amazing spot again.
Yep.
And also updated the technology so he can do magical mystery things to get...
It's all magic.
All of the good content that we do on here produced and over to YouTube very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it in bite-sized chunks, which is way more useful, which we love.
Got a lot of good bite-sized chunks coming out soon. I'm in the process of taking some of those like one-off questions. There's some really good ones, so stay tuned for that. We just released our priming video, if you guys hadn't seen that, which actually really helped me too. So
like immediately went and primed and we're like, you know what, I did what you did, and by God.
It just like such a simple thing, the straight, like how you do the straight priming rather than like the flick of your wrist and getting like not getting enough paint on there. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that when using aerosols of all types, that works the best. There's a reason why in like the automotive paint world, that's how you will talk to good painters. That's how they operate an HPLV gun. That's just the way it works. And spray cans are no different. But a lot of people just press the button and hold it while they spray. Number one, you waste a lot of paint. Number two, you wind up getting a lot more paint at the end of the what we'll call the brush stroke, even though it's not a brush, right? So at the ends or the sides of the model where you're tending to move the paint can to, you're overloading it with paint. If you don't end the button press and then restart. Doesn't matter what you're painting, as long as it's in a spray can. Follow those directions, better results immediately.
Well, speaking of Baby J, he will be on this week. Baby J is going to be on this week, chat.
He's a Tuesday through Friday.
That's right.
So if you've been missing your Baby J, mark your calendars. He will be here Tuesday through Friday painting up Kamar Jin.
And painting
the box
some
art
minis. It's going to be a fun time. So definitely stay tuned for that. You're going to get a lot of Jordan over the next 4 days, chat. Me giving him a good old-fashioned hard time. That's right. And also
I don't know if he's prepared. He's been out of it for a few weeks now.
That's right.
So guys got to take it easy on him.
He Phoenix Mercer, the last one he did was an OSL workup, so check that out. It's a couple weeks ago now. Feels like an eternity.
Without him?
No, just like the last time he was on. There's been so much going on in between now and then.
Yeah, that's true.
That has just been a whirlwind. Vane is asking, any plans on offering a gloss or semi-gloss spray varnish to go along with the matte one?
In Rattle Can, no. We have a gloss for airbrush.
Mm-hmm.
But no, if you want a gloss or a satin, buying just about any from the hardware store is a good bet.
Yep.
There's not really a whole lot of new science on that. Matte, on the other hand, you'll notice it when you buy matte varnish from the hardware store, it always sucks.
Why is that?
It just, they don't spend time to actually make a good matte. And you have to understand that in the world at large, like matte paint for walls and stuff, typically is not as matte as we like it. It's more like that eggshell.
Our matte is amazing.
We like a dead matte.
Yeah. Our matte spray, if you all haven't checked that out, I mean, I spray that on.
The kind of manufacturers like Krylon that make stuff like that for big, warehouse type use and big box stores make so much at a time. And you kind of have to small batch that type of stuff because it doesn't like shelf life as well.
Mm-hmm. Mike's asking, any plans on launching the brush on black primer?
Yes. Like imminent.
Yep.
I think they're actually, it's made.
We've got a lot
labeled.
I think everybody's getting ready for that.
I think it's just waiting on what product shots, Chris?
I don't know. I think so, maybe.
I think that's what we talked about last week, is that we're just waiting on product shots. So
yeah.
The white and the black brush on primer are in stock, just not for sale yet until they get the product shot and the marketing stuff going.
For the Monument matte black spray cans, how do they do in cold weather? Is it a nice day in PA, like 40 and dry out?
You're fine.
Yep.
Start with the can just don't let the can get that temperature. You start with it at room temp, and you can spray in anything. You can damn near spray them in the rain.
Yeah. Believe
it or not. Obviously, your models are going to get wet, but it can be raining outside, and you can still get good use out of them. Believe it or not, they're amazing. The acetone base is superb.
Yeah, they're dope.
Just make sure the can is not out in your garage, and start with it at 40 degrees. A lot of people tend to store spray paint somewhere else, like in their garage, and just pick up the can, shake the bejesus out of it, and then expect it to work. And that's unfortunately not going to do you very well. It needs to be at room temperature. So that's why we say, you know, run hot water over it and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, bingo, contrast.
Nice.
I like it.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out our primers, definitely check them out. Spray and our airbrush ones are really good. Mike's also asking, how about the Angra figures? Those are coming too.
I think, what are we waiting on those?
I think Gabe was going to talk to you about that today.
Those should be imminent too, like this week.
Yep.
If all goes well, all of it could be on the store this week. I leave Wednesday, so if they don't get on the store tomorrow, they probably won't happen until next week, but there's no reason why they shouldn't happen tomorrow.
Yeah, I think Gabe was going to talk to you about the Angra ones.
I know they were boxing some up.
Yep, I know they were doing that the other day.
So
getting ready for that.
That would be a good way to release them. Jordan's going to be painting the last of them. I started Kamar Jen. I'm never going to finish her on a timeline that everybody likes. So Jordan's going to paint one from start to finish. He painted the other box art, so it'll be good to have him do that one.
Paint Licker's asking, if I put the matte varnish in my Pro Acryl satin, will it neutralize the gloss?
And yes, to some extent. It will also dilute the paint vibrancy, right? Because you're thinning opacity since it's clear. So just be careful with that, you know. It's hard to take a gloss paint and make it matte. You're better off using the matte varnish over the top of it after the fact, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to mixing them together. Because the matte varnish over the top doesn't change the consistency of the paint or the vibrancy of the paint as much. It still will a little bit. You'll knock the sheen off of it, right? Which will kill some of your brightness. But if you mix matting agent in, then it'll make it even more apparent that it's been desaturated. So just pay attention to that. All right, I think that's a good leaving point for the wings for now. We will be adding more bold titanium white on the edges and things like that. But for the time being, I'm liking where we're at on those.
Kevin Carpenter, I just bought Pro Acryl Fluorescent Pink and Purple. Best paints I've ever owned. Nice.
I love to hear it. All right, so now we got to figure out. I think I talked about on Thursday last week about how I would attack the armor differently than what you've seen me do in the past, where we would go through and start sketching in a lot of our brightness first, like get our contrasts laid on here.
Yeah.
So I think what I would like to do is kind of get an understanding of where my shine wants to be. And we may change, like these colors may not survive. We've got the jade on there and the orange brown, I believe we put on there to get the coloring so far. I may upset that now that I've thought about going through and doing this in a different way. So I think, since we know we're going to be dealing in golds, I'm going to take bright pale yellow, right? Or I guess we could just do pale yellow since I have it out here. We'll do pale yellow. And we'll start thinking about where we want the brightest reflections to go. And then we'll go back and do dark reflections. So maybe this will help people understand the concept of placing light better than working up from dark to light. I have some comments from time to time where people ask me, so how do you know if you don't put the light on the model first? Because there's no zenithal really on him. Yeah. A little bit, but not much. How do you know where the brightness wants to live when you're doing non-metallic and reflective surface painting, right? Something shiny. So if I start with, you know, a very bright paint and we take a look. So number one, we got to determine where we want that. Can you pop in one?
Yep.
So where do we think we want the brightness, right? So we've got him kind of looking towards his left, right? If we look at him, he's stepping with his right foot, head facing a little bit left, you know, arm reaching out. And so from an artistic standpoint, this is kind of the money shot, this angle, where his eyes are dead on to us. If we use the wings as a focal point, we square up to the wings, then he has more dynamic looking off to his left, which could be cool. My brain usually wants to put focus where he's looking and kind of rotate the model like this so he's looking right at us and have the light be kind of over here. But because this arm is pointing right at us, that doesn't give us a lot of vibrancy this direction, right? So it might be better to have it be lit this way, because here we have a lot more surface that it kind of gets that brightness. The shoulder plate is more visible. I'm always thinking in terms of how we're looking at the model when it's just sitting on the base, right? So if we turn it this way, we lose this whole arm in perspective, right? So we just get the edge here.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of this be in shadow. The underside of the shoulder plate there would remain in shadow. The top of the hand would be bright, but you get a little bit of brightness here and a little bit of brightness on top of the shoulder plate. When we turn it, we'd get a lot more brightness. But when you're just looking at the model, you wouldn't have a lot. So this brightness from this direction would be shadow across his body from that. So while we could do some neat stuff there, that may not be the right direction. I think if we look at it like tilt the model this way, so he has motion to him, he's taking a step and going that direction, and we square up to the wings more, then we can do the brightness over here on his right shoulder, so 10 o'clock, right? And then if we do that, then we would start having this would be bright, right? This would be bright. This would be bright through here. Right? This would be bright. This over here would be bright, but would have some shadow, so we'll add some darkness back to it, right? And then we just kind of pick all the things that face his right, or on the same facing as his right shoulder, right? This one is a little funky, but we can say that it would be bright in here. It's kind of pointing directly at 10 o'clock, so it's going to have a little bit of brightness on it. And then here, but only up to about like that, maybe a little bit further. On the inside there. And then, of course, all these edges, which we don't have to get that detailed right now. The edge work is for later. We're just trying to sketch in where we think we would have brightness, and when it's coming this way, all the faces of the model that face this direction will be brighter. And remember, we're not blending, we're sketching. So this whole shoulder plate up around the top would be bright. Now, if you did a zenithal prime on him or pre-highlight on him, a lot of this would already be in much more stark contrast. We didn't do that. We were focused on starting on the wings and all the craziness that was going to go on there. We know we're going to be brightest right over this peak on the shoulder.
Army of Heroes has a question. How often do you all use a color picker with your art references?
Never. Honestly. But they are great tools. If you are ever wondering what colors go well together, getting yourself a color wheel or some form of a color picker, so to speak. They make great ones at the hardware store that go for color combos in your living room when you're repainting your walls. Anywhere you find them are great. Can give you a good reference on complementaries and tertiaries and all that art speak. Mm-hmm. I tend to just throw paint at the model.
One might say he's winging it.
I am, whoa with the horrible humor. All right, so again, just really sketchy.
Mike, take it easy. Have a good one.
Mike leaving? What?
He said, all right, back to work.
Think about where all of the reflections would be along these shapes. This is where we have to take into consideration the actual shape of the object. The arm is a cylinder, so most of these things along its surface will reflect like a cylinder with linear reflections along their length. Some of these shapes that kind of go out to the side will just get brightness along edges, so we can start doing some of that there. We would have this sticks out a little bit, but we'd still have brightness that runs down here as well and grabs these edges. Again, top of the leg, thinking from 10 o'clock. So we'll start at 12 o'clock on the leg and move over to our left, his right. So all of our shine would be over there.
John Scott Dixon, I thought it was funny.
What was funny?
You. My winging it joke.
Oh, John.
I appreciate
You don't get
that.
to come in here.
Big points.
You don't get
Chris.
to come in here and boost Chris's nonsense. That's not what we have you around here for.
Thanks, sir. I appreciate that.
Okay. So all of this can be achieved by doing a pre-highlight with a spray if you're not confident in this. But a lot of what we're already seeing is, notice how the shoulder plate throws a shadow in there. So I don't want to put a lot of brightness up inside that area, but I do want to catch right out here on the breastplate, outside that shadow, some light coming across into the barrel shape of his chest, like so. That would carry down into this area a little bit as a cylinder. Right. Then on his amazingly sculpted abs, we would have
they're good abs.
Some highlights in there. Across the top, this doohickey plate on his belt. Right. Where I've got an edge. It's just top edge here. The cylinder of his leg would have a little bit of shine, kind of leaning over towards 10 o'clock, but not too bright on that leg. Same thing across the top of the knee here. And we're just trying to kind of place light on the model to give us an idea of how we're wanting to paint this guy up. You don't want to go get trapped in the details too much right now, because you may look at it and decide it's not what you want. So don't spend a ton of time. Just go quick. Pushing everything from 12 to 10 on the clock. Thinking about where you would get all that highlight on here. On this side of the shin plate, this side on the guard going down to the foot. You know, we get a little bit of the tops of all this and probably a little bit of cylindrical shine down the leg here to match the leg guard, and maybe a little bit here. That could be argued depending on the shadow. Now you can see that most of his leg is cast into darkness down here, but see how the model itself casts that shadow? Our paint from our airbrush left that shadow there, which is nice. But then I have this area right here where it gets bright. So I want to come in here and catch some shine there. The model's telling us what it wants. Right? And then here. And probably right in here, even though the airbrush lied to us and said that didn't need brightness. Okay. If I have brightness here, that's going to give me brightness a little bit up underneath here. But not too much, because then I have that leg casting its own shadow. So, and that starts working pretty good. Obviously, there'll be highlights that come along these edges of the armor that come out to over here. We're not as worried about all of that right now. You want this, this. And of course over here on this arm, because our light is hitting from this direction, so we're really only going to highlight the cylinder of the arm along this side.
Brando has a question. On smaller scales, like 15 millimeters, would you still do the 10 and 2, or would you do top-down shading be better?
At every scale, the 10 and 2 has more dramatic effect than the top-down. The top-down will hide too much detail, right? Because it causes way too much drastic contrast and can take away from the visual. Even those small models, like at Flames of War scale, Battletech scale, all of them want to still have some directionality to them. So I prefer 10 and 2 all the time. I very rarely would ever say to highlight anything from directly 12 o'clock. It's just too obtrusive. It's why you don't take photos outside at high noon, right? You don't probably film at noon, Chris.
No, not it's
too much contrast.
Shadows, and you have to it's just not, doesn't work very well sometimes.
Right? You lose all your midtones when the light is straight up and down because it goes immediately from the surfaces that face the light to darkness. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you come at an angle, now you can start moving it out in front or behind, and you get all those midtones that go off to the other side. Mm-hmm.
But you always have a key light coming from a certain angled direction rather than just right on top of the subject.
We can go and start putting that kind of reflection on the other side of the body if we want to. Use, depending on your comfort, you can get as detailed here as you want. But like I said, I typically, until you know that you can see the finish line, you're like, yeah, this is going to work. Don't spend a lot of time on it. Just quick sketching works just great.
Dusty Hobbies. I have the Antonio LT grade Black Armor workup on my monitor right now. Double Jason is truly glorious. I feel like I'm in the Matrix. You might be in the Matrix. That's still to be discovered.
Still out for discussion. Right. So I think this is the right choice. I think this is going to give us a nice contrast-filled workup. We'll get good look out of it. Like I said, I'm not looking to complete everything here. I just want to give myself a good starting point. Find all the parts of the model. This lets me explore and see, okay, well, I got little nooks and crannies everywhere. How would those look in the light? And, like I would have a secondary reflection over here on the bottom of his pectoral on this side, away from the light. There's going to be some other things that we'll catch as we start doing the actual finish work on here, because he's got, shadow from his hair. We'll have to build in. Using the side of the brush a lot just to catch edges, almost like a dry brush would. That's starting to look pretty good. We have a Mo in here.
We got a Mo.
Mo,
Welcome in, Mo.
The dungeon crawler Carl is all the rage.
Oh, are you liking it?
Well, Jen got in the car with me yesterday, and it was on. It wasn't playing, but it showed on the screen, and she was like, "Oh wait, I think that's the book my friend told me about. She just got done reading it. Is it supposed to be funny science fiction thing?"
Oh no.
And I was like, yeah, kinda. It's a weird book. And she got on, texted her friend, and sure enough, her friend had just read it not too long back. So she now has someone to commiserate with as I tell her asinine stories about this book that's so crazy. I learned today that health potions in the Dungeon Crawler Carl world do not protect you from succubus syphilis.
Oh, boy.
Or whatever.
All right. All right. Okay. Good to know.
So succubus gonorrhea is what it is.
Oh, my God.
It does not protect you from succubus gonorrhea as outlined in the...
If that doesn't get you to want to look into this book, I don't know what will.
Yeah, right. Chat. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Source is asking, is this underpainting?
Yeah, I mean, you could classify it as such. It's not, what it is sketching in your shine.
Yeah.
Right? What I'm doing is I'm going through and sketching in where my brightest highlights are going to be and then building backwards. Normally you see me work from dark to light. I figured I'd do it a little bit differently for you this time so that we could look and see what my brain says to me as I'm going around the model and looking at where my brightest reflections would be. Right? So this would be where the biggest shine spots are going to be because the sun is coming from like right here. Mm-hmm. So all of the areas that it hits kind of like that. Right?
Yeah.
And so all the areas that face this direction need a good amount of color on them, which they now have, right? And on the armor alone is all I'm looking at right now. And then the opposite direction shouldn't really show you much at all.
Yep.
Which it doesn't. Just a little bit of the light coming around the curvature of the leg like it would. Any spherical or cylindrical shapes will have a little bit of that shine catch the edge, so that's what we have here, right? But from our opposite direction, not a lot of shine. And then what we do on this side is we start putting secondary reflections from the light that bounces off the ground and the environment and comes back onto the armor. That I will typically do later, right? So what we're trying to do is much like when we airbrush, pick a direction and say, okay, everything from that direction needs to have this color and everything from the opposite direction needs to lose it. We're kind of doing that just by hand. I do want to catch a little bit on this back foot. You can imagine if you're the sun like here, well, that wing kind of covers it. But for artistic effect, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of shine here at that 10 o'clock on the back of his leg too.
Here's a question from Eric. Papa Jason, tell me how you would mix Panzer Gray using your colors. I don't want to buy other paints.
Probably dark gray blue or Payne's gray and dark neutral gray. You want that little bit of bluishness to it, right? But maybe warm gray. I never go for exact, and it depends on which book you're looking at. Like the old RAL colors or whatever, or the national color chart stuff. Some of them have it as kind of a greenish gray, and some of them have it as kind of a bluish gray. So I think I would start with the bluish because to me it feels neater, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's fur. That's some sort of armored wing thing.
Might have to check this book out.
So far, it's interesting. I'm not going to say it's got me 100% yet. The character development is still happening. I'm very early on.
Yeah.
The premise is funny. It's, as we were talking about over on the other side of the building, it's very Running Man meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Meets Hunger Games kind of thing. I guess Hunger Games and Running Man are very similar. They kind of stole the shtick for Hunger Games from Running Man.
Gamer Direct. Hey guys, been really playing with the transparents, kind of loving them. Is there any plan to expand the line?
Not really. We have another red that's a better real red for the transparents that will come out at some point. The dark magenta that we released in the normal line is technically a transparent paint, but it was part of one of our signature sets, and we didn't want to confuse the issue and call it a transparent, but it definitely is, because it's a single pigment. Quinacridone magenta, hardest word in the world to say.
Eric, going back to the Panzer Gray. So, dark blue / gray in a dark warm gray mix, ?
That would be a good one to do, yeah. I think the dark blue gray, dark warm gray might work. Let's try it.
Oh, there it is.
Let's do it live and see. Let me grab some dark warm gray. And I'm going to go with Payne's Gray. So dark warm gray and Payne's Gray, I think, would be your best bet.
I'll put it on the palette cam.
Yeah, put it on palette cam and we'll look at it and think. I'll go up here and I'll probably just do a 50-50 mix is generally where I start to see, because it makes it easy for your brain to wrap around more or less from 1 to 1 than to do anything super creative right out of the gates. Right, so if I just take those and I feel like that's pretty good. I would use that. I would spray my Panzer IVs with that color. That's that early war German gray. Kind of to a T.
Looks great.
Feel good? I think that's it. And that was pretty much 50-50.
Nice.
No spoiler, but once you know what's what, it is very sinister. It feels like it, right? It feels like it. Running Man was Asimov? Was it Asimov? Or no? That's going to be tough for me. I don't know. I don't think it's Heinlein.
I thought
was it Stephen King?
Stephen King says Cannibal.
Oh, really? Was it King? Wow. Sure. Yep, no problem. Under Bachman. Okay. Did he write it under the Bachman pseudonym? Okay. Gotcha. Running Man was Bobby Brown. 100% Bobby Brown. 100% Bobby Brown. All right. Now, what did we start this guy with? Payne's Gray, right? I already have Payne's Gray out. Look at that. Segue.
Use Color Bomb palette. Brilliant, as it should be. Hi, Jason. I swear you're getting younger.
Ha! Every day, baby. Every day.
So now you're just going back in and getting the shadows again?
I'm going to get some dark spots in here where I want them. Not necessarily shadows. These are spots where it's going to be like dark reflections.
Okay.
I know it's tough to distinguish between the two when you're not thinking in terms of reflective surfaces. What happens is the more mirror-like a finish gets, right, the more you get detailing in color and value from the surrounding environment. And so what I want to do is play that game here where I go to my darkest color right next to my brightest color. And not because that's shadow. So some of this isn't going to make sense when I put it on here. Like, why would there be a shadow right at the top of the knee?
Yeah.
But that might be a reflection of something next to him or in the distance, right? And so you'll see I'll leave some of the green midtone and the jades in there too. And so the dark is not necessarily just shadow. It's everything else that happens in a reflective surface. You know, again, we'll show like my watch band has darkness that has nothing to do with shadow, right? It's all of the ceiling.
It's how the light hits.
Yeah, it's the same. It also has a lot of dirt on it now that I've shown that.
I'm noticing those middle bands, how they're curved.
Yeah, like the curve will put a lot of darkness from the walls, things that are naturally dark in the surrounding environment, but not due to shadow. It could be due to the color of paint on the wall, right?
Yeah.
So we'll do this on a lot of the areas as well.
Zambies, those wings are beautiful.
Zam, glad you're liking them. What is going on, girl?
Papa Chicken. I know the classic color wheel has RBY base, while the digital wheel has RGB. When creating color harmonies for your work, do any rules change from one wheel to the other, or is there a difference in approach, etc.? Or is it just a matter of taste, like most things art?
Okay, back up.
Yeah.
You're asking about RGB versus what?
RYB base on the classic color wheel.
Okay, what we would call CMYK versus RGB. RYB is CMYK in kind of the Photoshop space, I think. It's red, yellow, blue as opposed to cyan, magenta, yellow, right? But same thing. Same end goal. One of them is subtractive and one of them is additive in the way that the colors are mixed. In the RGB world, the reason why red, green, and blue make, when you combine those three together, you get white, right? All the frequencies of light when combined give you white light. And that's additive because you get all of those frequencies of color, right? Mixed together to amplify. If you understand how frequency works, is when you put them together, you get different, wherever there's a peak, they start to amplify each other. And so then you get another frequency going. And so they create color by adding together all those amplitudes to give you another, or all those frequencies at various amplitudes to give you another amplitude and frequency that is derived from that is in the visual spectrum. That's the world where they tell you things like purple can't exist because the frequency light for purple doesn't exist. It's the distinguishing nature in light of the ability for your eye to receive red and blue, and those cones or whatever rods are at the opposite ends of your eye. I don't know all the biological terminology there, but it still makes you perceive purple. But purple light is very difficult. But in pigment, there's definitely purple pigments, right? And you're talking subtractive at this point, meaning that whenever we look in the world of pigment, you have one pigment might be yellow and one pigment might be blue, right? And the reason you get green is that if you set them next to each other with space in between it, you'd see yellow and blue. As you move them closer together, what happens is that right in between them, and you've probably seen this as a optical illusion, is that you'll move those two colors together and you'll see a line of green in between them, even though green doesn't exist. What's happening is that the eye is unable to distinguish the proximity of those colors once they're next to one another to such a level that it creates a third color, right? That is the combination of those two. And so what happens when we mix pigments is that you get yellow and blue interlaced like this, and it makes the eye see green until such a point where you spread the pigments back out through thinning or whatever, and it starts becoming a hazier bluish yellow, right? So that's called subtractive because it's covering up one pigment with another that gives you the idea of a third color. Make sense? You're never mixing the two technically. The yellow and the blue never mix and give you green. It's just they interlaced at such a level of tiny pixelated image almost that your eye distinguishes it as another color. Whereas light, when they mix it together, you actually get a different frequency of light, and so you get a different color until you turn one of those or another off, at which point it goes back to its original. So that's more real mixing, if you will. Bring on the nerdy color talk. So when you say what you choose to do, it's just in a world of digital that you get to make that choice. You don't, like when you have a projector, it's RGB, RGB and RGB. There is no CMYK color mixing in the digital spectrum. There is the perception of CMYK color base when you output digital files for print, that it approximates the base red and the base blue as cyan and magenta, as opposed to pure red and pure blue in a numeric sense, to give you what would output visually very similar to what you see on your screen. So it just alters your base coloration, but it has no ability to actually mix pigment that way on the screen, right? So it's a close approximation, which is why you'll never get 100% no matter how good your monitor is. We have color-corrected monitors here for you guys, and that gets as close as you'll get to whatever we see on the monitor will be on print, but it's never exact.
It's so hard.
You put a color spectrometer on it, and they're different, because you just can't make light, which is what you get in the digital sense. You can't make that work for the pigment interactions of subtractive mixing. So when you say what choice do you take to get there is really not an issue. It's not a thing to make a choice. You're always going to be in the world of CMYK, even if you choose not to paint that way. Every paint that you're using is using subtractive mixing to get there. So you can't mix two colors and get what you would get with light. You can't put all your colors together from your paint and get white. That's not how that works. You get black in subtractive mixing. So is the CMY color wheel a better one to use as painters? 100%. Yeah. RGB doesn't mean anything to you. That's a color that would give you a visual perception of what you're going to receive on the screen if you're doing everything in digital like Photoshop or Illustrator and things like that. CMY is the standard color wheel. Now there are RBY, like was mentioned. You might find a color wheel that starts with pure red, which is a magenta yellow combo, and pure blue, right? Which is a cyan magenta combo, right? And so you're getting rid of magenta and spreading it out to create the blue and the red, and then working with yellow. So there are some colors you cannot create out of the RBY spectrum. You cannot get a true cyan out of that, and you cannot get a true magenta out of that. You can approximate them, right? So that's the only issue there. It's a lot simpler because those colors are easier for you to just get and understand. But, starting with a true cyan, like when we come out with the heavy body paints, out of the 16 colors, you've got a titanium white, a black, and then process cyan, process magenta, and process yellow, which are the colors that you would use in printing for getting all of your color mixes. And so you'll be able to mix those together if you want to do true CMYK painting. You'll get spot on, like the most professional level of cyan, magenta, and yellow for that type of painting that you would want. Vaneda, yeah, we're releasing 16 colors, stuff like Nicolazzo yellow, the process cyan, process yellow, process magenta, white, black. I forget all the other colors. We've got a Payne's gray. We've got a burnt umber, I think. There might be a raw umber. We've got a lot that we want to do. We're going to see how the first 16 do. But some of the highest grade artist pigments you'll have ever experienced. We blow Winsor Newton and Schminke and all those people away. 100%. You'll be blown away. We will show why Monument Hobbies is the company to deal with art supplies. Because we don't make house paint. We make real paint. Like real artist paint for artists. The artist acrylics are matte. Yes, Lumberjack Tim. Not all of them are quite as matte as the Procryl liquids, because in the paste, the matting agent is going to work a little bit different with the pure pigments that we're using, but they are none of them satined out. They are as matte as you're going to get a tube paint. Yep. Yeah, we've reformulated the entire idea of how to use paste acrylics on miniatures, and that matte survives thinning, which is a big thing. Oh, it said the armor's looking clean. Wow, pop in one. This is super snot sketchville right here. Like we're literally, this is just super sketchy to show how I think about placing reflection, right? So we're sketching in the Payne's gray right now for dark reflections. But you can see how it comes together pretty quick, right? We get a good look going on. And you're really just at this point trying to figure out, okay, what's going to make it look to my eye as if it's a shiny metal when it's really a resin model, right? That's always the issue.
Jiminy, will these be traditional oil-based or acrylic-based?
They're acrylics, tube acrylics. No oils at this time. I'm trying to stay away from heavy solvent based stuff that gives you a need immediately to use, heavy solvents to clean with. We try to find a water-based solution to everything first. Because of the world we live in as miniature painters, most of our painting community does not come from a world of art background. They come from a enthusiastic perspective of being fanboys and girls of the nerd world like we are. And so we try to make the idea of art much easier to move along and through. Now, I'm wondering, like, on this thigh piece up here around the hip, would that be metal too? I feel like it would, right?
Are they just full metal pants?
I feel like it would be metal as well, like up in this area too. So I'm gonna give a little bit of shine there that I missed.
Tube acrylic. So will you be selling a thinning agent, or does water work?
Water.
Nice.
Water and all of the mediums that we already sell for the liquid based. We've I don't have her. Oh yeah, I do. We used them already on stream, and I painted her with them. Right, showing blending. This was all done with CMYK. This was, well, the face, all of the flesh and the skull was done with, I think maybe actually everything except the hair, because the hair I then brought in Payne's Gray for. But everything else on this was done with the cyan, magenta, and yellow, with black and white. So teeth, skull, mushrooms, the gold, all of that was done with CMYK. Maybe even I think the top was done once we had the other red pigments, but I might be wrong.
Ghost Hunter said, this stream is my favorite because Jason is the most handsome streamer, and
100%, 1000% dead freaking sexy.
And Monument Jen says, I agree, but he's taken, so keep your hands to yourself. Looking's for free. Touching's gonna cost you something.
Jen peruses the mail and keeps all the love letters away from me. She wants my hat to not fit anymore. So again, just looking at where I might get some dark reflective spots, letting the green still live on the Model 2 as a mid-tone base. But you see the Payne's Gray almost looks like black up against that pale yellow. And the pale yellow is not really that bright of a color. It's about on par with the way the wings look with the transparent white filter over them, right?
Dave, I can't say enough about your community outreach. These streams and your YouTube channel content and in general availability is just something really no other company does. We appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's very important to us. I can't stress how important this is, because I firmly believe that painting, I was talking about this with a person that's not involved in our world at all at lunch. I had a business lunch today, and this person was discussing their industry, which is auto collision, and the struggles they're seeing and how that world is growing and what they believe, the human side of auto collision is gone, right? You don't get anybody that actually cares about the fact that you need your car back. It was what he was lamenting. He was making it appear that, everybody's really just there to make the most efficient dollar transaction as possible. He was talking about how they're totaling most cars through the collision space now. And the math doesn't work in favor of people who might have a car they really love and just want it back on the road, and they total it because it doesn't meet their math.
Oh, okay.
Right? And, if you are in the middle of making car payments, totaling your car is not a great thing, because it pays you back whatever they think you should get, and you could be left if you don't have whatever it is, gap insurance or whatever. Anyway, he's lamenting all this stuff, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, yeah, I mean, it's not too dissimilar to the way we look at the painting world, although not necessarily as transactional as like insurance companies determining whether or not they're going to pay for your car. But it is to some extent where people just want to sell you a product and make it something like a contrast paint or something like that that's only there to speed up the process, when we believe fully in the process being something that is to be experienced and can really be loved by everybody. Even if you come in telling me, hey, I just want to play 40K, I just want to get models on the table, we've got a solution for that. But what if you went to the next step? What if you really found that character model and really had a lot of fun painting it? What if something we did on stream really made it click for you and you're like, oh, I want to try that? And then what if that person had so much fun for the few hours they spent trying that thing and really found their stride? I don't care if you ever paint a winning model. I don't care if your model ever gets published in anything. I care personally, and this exudes out throughout Monument. I care that you enjoy what you do as a painter, right? If that means getting armies on the table fast, awesome. If that means spending a lot of time learning a new technique until you get it mastered, awesome. Whatever it is, you can find it, and that's what we believe here. That's why we put so much time into all of this, you know, as you said, the outreach, because I think it's super important to allow people the experience, to not just treat this like a commodity, you know, to treat it like something that could be part of your life, that could give you a recess when you need it, you know? I want people to experience what I experience when I come in, like on a Saturday, or when I'm sitting here painting with you right now, is one of the best parts of my day, because I get to go away and to this fantasy world and, you know, maybe eliminate the doldrums and things like that. There's a lot more to painting than getting armies done. Mm-hmm. And I think we tend to forget that sometimes. So yeah, it's in our products and in our the way we treat the community. We want everybody to have the opportunity to experience that. It's very important to me. So thank you for hanging out with us, putting up with my BS and bad jokes, fart noises, by the way.
Oh, that was the
SF on cue.
That was the big one.
SF on cue.
Yes, we will have a crew at Gamma this week.
Yep. Kyle and Philip will be there starting tomorrow, setting up the booth. And then I will be there on Thursday for the first full day of the show. There's a lot going on at Gamma, but the trade show floor is only open half the day on Wednesday and then all day Thursday. So I will be there all day Thursday. I'll be there for Wednesday night dinner with the team, but
Roadside Miniatures, watching your streams and everything else you guys do has been inspiring to me and my partners, and have caused us to step out and start doing things we've never thought we'd do in the past. It's hard to explain beyond that, but yes, you are very well inspiring to us. Awesome.
Thank you. That's awesome. I mean, that's really it. I don't know what the inspiration even means a lot of times, because it can come in so many different forms, but I love it. I love that people would find a way to make painting something they do more often, in whatever way brings you joy. I don't even care. I'm not going to try to tell you need to do a particular thing in a particular way, and this is the best. And there are some things that are better than others. I'm very blunt about certain things. But in most, it's like chaos. It's like, I want you to explore so that you find what you like. Because if you like painting, it's just one of those things that for me has been in my life forever. Whether it were, you know, trying to paint a canvas, or whether it was painting a miniature, you know, getting an army ready, or just sitting in here, you know, BSing with you gang on a Monday. Mm-hmm. You know, painting has given me so many opportunities in life to just have fun and explore stuff with friends, meet new people. I wish everybody could experience that. And our hobby, I think, does it even better, because it kind of predisposes that everybody's a nerd and that you're going to feel comfortable being able to hash out and talk Dungeon Crawler Carl with, you know, 100 people on the internet is amazing to me. So
yeah, more
power to us, nerds. We've got a calling that is a lot of fun. Big fan. There you go. That's my Kumbaya drum circle talk. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
That's our TED Talk, yeah. Iterator, is anything planned for Gen Con this year? That seems like an eternity away.
You're really pushing it, man. Like, I got to get to Adepticon.
Yeah.
There's no release planned as such for Gen Con right now. We've got some new games coming out this year. So there will be one new game. We're showing that at Adepticon. Actually, we're showing it at Gamma.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a retailer, you can't get into Gamma as the general public. But as a retailer, if you're at Gamma, there's some cool stuff going on. And we will have one of the new games at Gamma to show off. But by Gen Con, there might be a second. So those will definitely be on bigger display than we've ever done games at Gamma before. we are really attempting to get a bigger presence this year. We are naming the studio Monument Games, so a bigger push on all the new stuff coming out, which I think is going to be big and tons of fun, if nothing else.
T. Schmidt, new games. When can I taste it?
Well, they're card games, so technically, if you like eating paper, I guess you could. I don't know that I recommend it, but you know. The first of the new games is, I think Gabe is supposed to get us verification on like production numbers and stuff like that this week or next. We've got a couple of art things that still have to be finished up, but we're very close on all of that. Like I said, there'll be some, I guess we can throw it on here. There will be some, what I call secondary reflection. I don't know if that's a proper term. Somebody in the art space would yell at me. There will be some offside reflection, and that always happens at a smaller amount, right? It's not at the same brightness, amplitude, whatever word you want to use on the secondary side, because this light that's causing shine on the armor has reflected off of things in the environment, rocks, concrete, stuff like that. So it will never be as bright as the direct light coming from the light source, i.e. the sun, the torch, you know, the OSL, whatever. But as it bounces off the world and comes back and hits things, it still has enough brightness to create, you know, some shine on things. So we do it like that. And we'll poke around. Normally I would do most of this towards the end, because it will not survive the next thing that I'm going to do, which is the mid-tone yellows and stuff that go on this. We'll start to cover a bunch of this up, because the next stage becomes more like a glaze, right? But you see how the cylinder of that leg starts to take shape with shine. If I bring this over a little bit on here, we start to get the depth and volume of the model built back in as we do the edges. After we do the darkness on there, the darker reflections, come back in and grab some of the hard edge stuff.
Welcome in, everybody. If you're just now tuning in,
Howdy, howdy.
there it is. My positive reaction to the people coming in.
Howdy, howdy.
If you are just now coming in, the negative part of that is, where have you been?
Oh boy, this is where he gets mad at you, Chad.
I have to have both sides of this coin.
He can't put up with the
Welcome
tardiness.
in. Where have you been? There you go.
Welcome. Where have you been?
The
It's like my dad when I would stay out late. He's like, well, I'm glad you're home. Now you're grounded.
I'm glad you're here.
Glad you're here and alive.
Not good.
You're grounded. We said by 10.
We are continuing painting Sanguinius today. We finished up the wings last VOD, so you can check that out, which was on Thursday.
And by finished, he means about 70% there.
By finished, as in moving on to the next
Ready to
little
move on.
segment.
I'm really happy. I got more of the magenta and the kind of baby blue in them than I was thinking, but I really like that turquoise magenta. And believe it or not, you're seeing a lot. The camera may not read it as much. You're seeing a lot of the emerald green kind of color coming through here with the jades.
Yeah.
It's just very bright. So I'm liking that. So I'm leaving this as a stopping point so I can figure out how that's going to look with the golds.
Yep.
And we may like it. We may decide to cover it up some more. Again, never be afraid to stop at some point in your journey with a color and say, I'm not ready to make a decision on it. I'm liking where it's going, but I don't want to push it to a point I don't like. Stop when you're at that 70, 80% mark, paint something else, see how all of that lines up and works together. You'll be a lot happier. Because remember, every color on the model has to play well together or none of them do.
It's always such a cool thing to see as you finish one section of the model, the other section makes the previous one stand out in a different way.
100%.
Especially with these, like now the wings feel like they're getting a little darker, right?
Oh yeah, see they're not near as bright because this pale yellow is of an equal, if not more, higher value.
Mm-hmm.
And so you now are all of a sudden forced to say, okay, well maybe I need more white on them. And you wouldn't have made that decision had you not started moving to the gold armor at this point. So you definitely want to take a break, paint the areas next to what you're focused on before you make a determination on whether or not you continue to push it brighter, darker. Skin is one of the big ones. You know, you see me with skin stop at a level where you're like, oh yeah, you know, that looks great. And then we paint, like on Antonio El Tigre was a great example, because we painted his skin with just that one layer of glazing and no other colors.
And it looked bright.
And it looked bright and great, but then we painted the armor, and all of a sudden the skin almost
the gold shoulder
turned super dark, and we had to brighten him back up, right?
Yep.
So that's why I always say, don't ever consider yourself done until you see all the pieces together. We had to come back and brighten up the forehead and the cheek and the bridge of the nose and the cheek over here a little bit more, because the gold started to overtake in the skin. I mean, look how dark his skin is over on this side compared to the gold. And if his whole face was like that, it's too dark. When it's just the shadow, it makes sense, but we had to re-brighten up the highlight side in order for it to fit in line with everything else we did with the non-metallic gold. Right? Because when we did the black armor and didn't have the gold painted, or did we? Yeah, we did the black armor first, right? And then we did the gold?
We did the black armor first.
So when we did the black armor first, the face even looked brighter because we were only putting dark color on. And so, you know, the visual impact of value, which is why I say it's so important on models, is it will change based on the way the whole composition fits together. As soon as you put white on a model, everything you painted before you put white on the model becomes darker. Yeah. Visually darker. It didn't magically change, but white becomes the brightest thing and provides such a level of contrast on the model that it makes everything else look darker. So that's why you have to be careful with things like white and black. You put too much black on a model, it makes everything around it become much brighter and might blow things out of balance. So that's why I say paint everything to 70% and then finish out all the coloring that you're doing from a base and maybe mid-tone perspective on the whole model. Then you get a good picture of what's bright and what's dark. Then start highlighting. And as you highlight, be careful to pay attention that, hey, when I put the highlights on the sword, what did it do to everything else? Did everything else become brighter? And you want to be looking at it at each stage, because if you get to a point where you over brighten something, now it becomes a disco ball. Everything's so intense and sparkly contrast that the whole model is just, you lose it. It's too much. It doesn't look realistic anymore.
Here's a question from Swifter Bear. Random question. My wife saw the wings you've worked on and wants me to paint a wolf figure the same way for her. Would there be any big adjustments? I'd like to go the same effect. Yeah,
same effect. You know what you see if you super zoom in for me, Chris?
Yeah.
Notice how through all the colors I did the texturing of the hairs of the feathers so that I got that kind of layered depth effect. Just make sure you do that with the fur. Like, not all of that is sculpted on there. I just did big, chunky, wispy brush strokes in the early stages. And then as I got brighter and brighter, where there was more contrast, I started doing more detailed lines. You'll see they're not all straight and whatever, but they provide the look that I want. Just make sure with the fur you're doing that. You're giving yourself a little bit more textured brush stroke as you go along with the fur until you get to your bright color. Then you're doing more detail on the actual hair that's sculpted on it for the tufts or whatever. Do that, because that's what's going to give you the depth. Otherwise, it'll appear a little flat. Because even though if we zoom out, you don't really notice all of that instantaneously, it still has a massive effect.
Yeah, especially like when you zoom out this
way.
way.
Yeah, because you get that little intersperse of bright and dark that really gives it texture and makes it look like if you touched it, it would push in.
Yeah.
And hair of all types is like that. You know, it's not just sitting, unless it's buzz cut, right? If it has any depth to it at all, you press it and the light would change as you press in, right? You did put an indentation and the light would warp where you indented it. And so that's what gives it that effect, is all of that texturing. Deduct my points, coward. Yeah. Hey, see, calling you a coward?
It's like, so here's the backstory on this. The whole face workup for that one was crazy. Even more trust the process than wings, in my opinion. It's like how Chris looks pretty good by himself, but then surrounding himself with regular people, and he's just meh. Little Billy.
I love how he says, deduct my points, coward.
Your deficit is the lowest, Little Billy.
Little Billy. Little Billy is
Billy
Chris's arch nemesis.
That's right.
Arch nemesis. I love it. I love this drama.
Oh, man. John Scott, I may have missed this, but why not sketch the light on the spear and the hilt of the sword? I think maybe he was talking about the bust on El Tigre.
Oh, no, he's talking about here.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
Right.
Different color?
I haven't decided on color here. There is some stuff that I know is going to be gold, but I would probably choose a different gold for a weapon than an armor, although maybe you might do the hilt and the spear at the same time. When I'm teaching, I like to stay focused on one thing.
Yeah.
Right? So that you can see the shapes and not extend them out into other things. Right? Leave all of these various parts and materials their own thing. I try to teach people that if you go into too much thought process, even if this is also going to be gold, in my opinion, as you're learning, it's much better to then reproduce these same steps on another piece of the model than to try to fit it all together. Because you add in too many angles, too many differences, too many variables, and the brain starts to get, too much, what would you call it? Distraction, maybe. So yeah, that's the only reason. A lot of times I just focus in on the show to make sure that that's what we're doing. I'm going to go through and put a dark reflective spot right here, narrower, that kind of comes through as if it were going to the centerpiece here. Oh my. Right?
Trust the process.
To get a little bit more of a like chrome shiny feel to this as well.
Oh. See, now that the here's a question.
And right here as well on the breastplate, I'm going to start and do kind of a tree shape here.
Senior Diablo, I recently found that my transparent white was congealed. Is there anything I can do to sort that out, or should I just get a new bottle?
Contact us. We did have a batch that got thick quicker than it should have. It is a zinc-based white. There is nothing that protects you from that over time. But that being said, if you let us know when you bought it, we can look at the date range and see if it might have happened too quick, and then they can help get it sorted in customer service. We know it doesn't have the shelf life of all the other colors, but if it happened too quickly, we'll take care of you. Just contact support and drop them a line. Right, so again, here on this knee, I can do like a little dark reflection.
Belcor is saying, just got my first airbrush and tried priming with your black. All went well, very happy with the results. Will take some getting used to as the primer is very matte and does not show me the highlights naturally, but I was super excited to try it out. Nice.
Yes.
It'll definitely change the way you look at your models, that's for sure.
Yeah. The goal is to have all of that matte nature. Now, if you hit it with a zenithal white, then you'll get a lot of that back. So you can find the detail in it again. Our rattle can spray, is he saying the airbrush spray or the rattle can?
I think
the rattle can.
I think it's the airbrush spray.
The rattle can is even more intense in its darkness. So the rattle can one will make it to where you're like, oh my God.
It'll freak you out if you do it outside at night because you'll lose your model.
Don't paint outside at night, by the way, folks.
Well, I mean with a light.
There's bad creatures outside.
Oh, man.
You don't want to be outside at night.
Oh, I'll take that one, chat. I'll take that one on.
Do not paint outside at night. Bad stuff out there, chat.
Don't paint out at night. It's really difficult to paint. Oh, man.
There's wisdom from Chris. Don't paint in the dark.
Chat, I lost 5 points for that one. I'll take my points away. Wow.
He says, wow.
There it is. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, if you're just now tuning in, welcome to Bring It Full Circle.
He just told you not to paint in the dark.
I said, that's my new motto. Don't paint in the dark. John
Chris
Scott,
just said, don't paint in the dark.
Can you explain more about why you chose to place the dark line on the shoulder around the armor where you did? Like at 1 o'clock as you look at the piece.
Hang on just a second.
Yeah, you're good.
A lot of what I just added in, John Scott, was reflections. So this one is a reflection. Imagine if... Okay, so here, let's grab the spoon.
Yeah. Oh, great bit.
Do we have the spoon? Where's the spoon? Here, spoon. Tell me what the darkness on the spoon is. What is the brightness and the darkness on the spoon? Right? we get tied up in painting with painting things as three-dimensional objects with bright moving to shadow. But what happens when you introduce reflectiveness into it is that the more polished a reflective surface becomes, the more it starts to evolve into showing you your environment like a mirror, till the point where you get to full mirror, right? Like this will show me my finger moving there, right? So it has a mirror focus to it. I don't want to paint him that bright, so I don't have as much darkness as the spoon does, because the spoon has now limited the lights to just the shape of the light and a little bit of blend outward. Because then we get into the roof color. This is the ceiling in here, or the walls, or my hat, or my hand, right? And we don't want to be that mirrored, but we want to bring things from the environment in. And so that dark spot might be, a tower in the distance, or a tree line, or something, right? I've done it here. I did it on the breastplate right there, because again, I do want enough shine on here to make it feel spectacular and royal, right? But it'll also be battle worn. So I'm going to do that, and I might desaturate it and shut it down, but I wanted to remind myself that putting a little bit of that shine on there is going to be cool.
Yeah.
So again, we use this, and then I have a pencil somewhere around here too. It's the spoon and the pencil. For years, we've done the spoon and pencil, which is just because they're the only things in here.
That's very scientific.
Yeah, very scientific. But, when you look at, I look at the handle of the spoon is where we look at it, right? So you look at this, I'll try to get them facing the same direction into the light, right? And so two not dissimilar shapes, but you look at when they're facing the light almost exactly the same, the difference between the more polished spoon and the brushed aluminum or spring steel clip on the pencil is that no matter what I do with the pencil, if it's dark, it's all dark, and if it's bright, it's all bright, because the less reflective nature of the surface, the less polished nature of the surface, still reflective because it's hard surface metal, but it's less polished, so it will not focus the reflection as much. The surface is irregular and therefore refracts the light, and so you get this spread or this blended light on the surface, whereas the spoon, being more polished, is reflecting almost the light hits, and you get one reflected angle back at you, at your eye, which makes what you see very pinpoint and localized on the surface, as opposed to this is a bunch of irregular surface. So instead of being polished flat like the face or the facet of a jewel, it's a bunch of little pyramid shapes, let's say. And those pyramid shapes bounce light all over the place. And so the light that's hitting your eye is bouncing up here and then back and bouncing and bouncing and bouncing and bouncing, which gives it this spread of light over a further surface, as opposed to just hitting once and coming right back at you, which is what's happening like here. And why I'm seeing literally the physical shape of the light move around in that oval and never really blending across the surface of the spoon, except like over here where it gets really dirty because there's more surface abrasion or goop or whatever. If I hit that with my finger, we lose a lot of that. Look at that, right? We go back to having less of that. And then over in the edge, you get more of that blended light because there's gunk there, right? And the more we polish it, the more it gets you back down to just the light and a little bit of spread across the surface. To where in a mirror that's fully polished, the light has no spread. There's no blending of colors. You look at yourself in the mirror and you hope that's what you look like. Well, maybe you don't hope, but that's what you look like, right?
Maybe,
so,
I hope.
What we try to do in the artistic sense is somewhere in between, right? Is to try to pick how polished is the surface you're working on. The more polished it is, the closer your darkest color and brightest color come together, and the more focused they become at showing you the environment around the object. So where you could see the reflection of a hand or a tree or a mountain in the distance in the thing if it was mirror-like. Painting that way, I don't really stress doing, because it's really hard to then understand what the reflection would do on the shape that you're painting. A lot of people will paint a domed shield and they'll just paint a forest as if the chrome is reflecting the environment, the earth and the sky and a forest. They don't realize that the shape would distort it like a hall of mirrors at the circus. When you walk in, you're 6 feet tall, you stare into a mirror that makes you look like you're 1 foot tall, because the shape of the mirror takes the reflection and squishes it, stretches it, because it's hitting all the way over there. I tell people, when you drive up behind a car in traffic the next time, look at how many cars when you drive up, when you look in their tailgate, your car's upside down. The reflection of your car is upside down because the curvature of the back tailgate on a lot of cars these days has a dish, like a concave section on the back, that distorts light and flips the image. And so you're looking at your car wondering like, why is that upside down? So you have to understand that if a particular shape was like a concave shape and you were trying to do the sky and the earth, they would be reflected upside down. And most artists don't know that and do that. So it causes it to be unrealistic. So I say stay away from that and just do more pencil, less spoon. So you get the feel of reflective things in the environment. I do it with color a lot of times. I've got like oranges and greens and this gold that make it look like, there's a little bit of a coloration to the environment, maybe Martian earth kind of coloring that would give that orangish glow on the bottom of the gold. But I don't do it as shiny as would show a tree reflected in it, right? Because that's something that is very hard to pull off. The more people do it, the more I'm like, don't do that. It's not the way it would look. But you can still pull off shiny and the idea of metal, which is really what we're going for, in all of this. And it's just the level you decide you want to do it at.
More spoons, less pencils.
More pencil, less spoon. Get it right.
No. It's deets and doots.
It's deets and doots and more pencil, less spoon.
More... No, my dyslexia is showing. Oh.
We have a silent guest here today, chat. Alex is here monitoring the stream, and she is just being so good over there. I haven't even heard a peep out of Alex, but I'm interested. Alex has a more artistic mind than Christopher. I'm wondering how she's thinking about his butchering of what I'm telling you here. We will have a meeting after stream.
Oh, boy.
To discuss it between Alex and I.
Chat, yes. Alex is our new marketing team member.
What's up, chat?
They heard that in the very far distance.
Yellowest square is correct. I feel like that implied diffuse reflected environment is also more believable for a 3D mini where your point of view shifts. Correct. And where the environment the miniature in is always different and non-recognizable. It almost is it gives you a mind game to play with the viewer that I really love. If I paint on the shield the forest in the background in this chrome armor and this amazing piece with forest and hills and all these things reflected in it, and then I put it on a plinth and I put it in a room where there's no forest and no hills, it's always baffling to me. I'd rather do it with color and just the idea of environment, so it lets the viewer still have some of the story to tell themselves. I think that is a good pairing, more so than just showing them everything, I also don't like Anne Rice as an author, and that's because she tells me everything, and I need to have some of it left to my imagination.
Hey, Chris, Jason, and Alex. I hope you're having a good day. I'm painting a horse for the first time. Do you have any general tips for it? Also, after seeing the wings come together last week, I bought the transparents.
Awesome.
Nice.
They're amazing.
They're magical.
They're amazing.
They're magical.
When painting a horse for the first time, do you have any general tips? I think that the layering the way that I did, in concept, we do a lot more here that is valuable than just replicating what you see me do. So the wings, in concept form, we talked about underpainting. So we did all the wild coloration so that when we turn them white with the transparent, we still got all that coloring underneath that made it look, gives us kind of a pearlescent, iridescent feel to them. That is a specific thing that we got from the idea of underpainting. But if we go back to Super Zoom, and we talk about like with doing the wolf hair, and I talk about how I layered up my texture so that even though I don't follow the lines of the sculpt all the time, I get the feel of a hairy feather, right? And all of those little finger-like hairs in the feather come to life and give me depth because I started it with my dark color. Painting horses is very similar. If you want to have them not just be smooth plastic like they're mostly modeled in our world, horses have hair. Some of them have a lot of hair. And so to be able to give them a little bit of texture by doing that same thing would be good. And if so, let's say we're doing a brown horse and I start with black brown and move up to maybe warm brown. And then over the top of that, maybe I do light umber or something. I don't know what your color scheme is. But with horses, you can get away with all sorts of neat earthy tones on them. Even when doing like a white horse, you can use brown and gray underpainting and then do the white over the top like we've done here. But as you do, keep that texture for the hair going. You're with a horse, and I don't know the model you're painting, but generally they're smooth, right? That's just smooth plastic, smooth metal. So to create the texture, you have to paint it all in. So start painting those textured strokes from your dark colors, and then when you get to your bright colors, you're not doing as much texture, otherwise it looks like a very hairy horse. But as you glaze over those textures you've created with the darker colors, it gives the feel that it is hair, as opposed to just brown plastic. That's the only problem that I have with some animal sculpts in our world, is that they don't feel realistic enough. They have the shape of a horse, so it feels like a horse, but when you paint it, it feels like a plastic horse. So you got to put a little bit of detailing in it.
You have to add that texture and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh, yeah. Horse is not all. It is a tail. Like if it hits you, it hurts, by the way. They swing that bastard around. That would not swing that way if it were just hair.
No.
They also bite.
Little Billy, I'm so glad you tried the transparent paints. Good for you.
They're amazing. They literally are amazing. All right, so next step. Let's start doing some glazing. I'm going to glaze in some yellow of some sort. What do we think we need? I'm thinking.
Orky Fish, I'm stressed about these Death Corps Krieg horses. Okay, there are a lot of horses. That's a very popular model right now. So maybe I've seen that.
They're very cool.
So many times. They are very cool.
Very, very cool.
I
don't know if I want to use yellow ochre, if that's too dark, or if I'll go with this.
What about Wizard's Butt?
Well, the wizard's butt.
You actually have a good wizard's butt.
Yeah,
up there.
the banana yellow that the first wizard's butt was is really cool. You know.
Oh, chat. He's gonna make me have to put that in the
That's
tutorial.
actually gonna be the answer, isn't it? I think
He's gonna make me put that in tutorial with a new color.
No.
What is going on here, chat?
I'm gonna do a new color that they can eventually buy, as opposed to one that they'll probably never ever get.
Oh, is that the OG one? That yellow? Oh, it is. That wizard's butt is the OG.
Yeah,
yellow.
you can't get that one. That's
the Zambi says the purple wizard's butt is the best. It's really good.
All of them are so
good. The
good.
green one is good too. What have we
so
done?
Good. Can I tell everybody, Chris, that I today approved just telling production to make us 1,000 bottles of wizard's butt, and they can come up with the colors on their own for Adepticon?
You can.
So there might be, don't guarantee it, but you might be able to get, a whole handful of different wizard's butts, handful of butt at Adepticon.
There it is. That was scientific. Handful of butt, said Jason Craze of Monument Hobbies. Handful of butt. Chat. So, Jason, what are you doing here?
I'm glazing some of this yellow over, just very wet. Right? So that I can get the midtones kind of baked in here and use the colors that I have on there as a underpaint, as we discussed, so that the darkness and the brightness will both show through, but I'll pull everything into the realm of gold color that I want, and then I will go back over it all with the brighter tones later.
Oh man, handful of butt really got the chat going here. Oh man. Yeah. Wizard's butt. Be there, Adepticon. Having a Wizard's butt paint single on the website and shipping a random bottle would be a great way to take my money, says Little Billy. Little Billy, I'll just steal it from your bank account. I'll find you.
Wow.
You heard it here. Oh, man, my word.
Little Billy.
Little Billy.
You've created a monster. Careful. Don't give Chris your bank account info, it sounds like.
Little Billy, I'm going to send you an email. I'm going to need you to fill some things out for me. New sets of paint. The butt bundle. A fistful of wizard's butt, says Zambies. Not a bad idea. That would be the best set. Just a fistful of wizard's butt. 6 random paints.
Yeah, that are never the same. You could buy that set every month, and it would always be different paints in it.
Not a bad idea.
Remember when I just said that we weren't out to just fleece everybody for their money, Chris? I feel like that just put us back in the world of companies trying to fleece you for your money.
We're never going to do that, but we're totally going to do that.
Here's the company that never does the FOMO thing, and oh, by the way.
I know. You never do the FOMO thing. Here are 6 random colors that will never be made again.
So you don't know whether to use them and fall in love with them or to save them on the mantelpiece, right? Because it's like,
there would be just a random.
And we kind of already do that for the people that get their hands on wizards' butts.
That's true.
It's like, I don't know whether I can. I'm in the same spot, chat. Realize that the mixture for wizard's butt is like never to be repeated. So Ruben and the crew over there might have a recipe someplace, but I don't know it. So if I run out of any of them, I'm with you. I don't know how to make more.
We do that on purpose. What is it? You don't tell the jailers where the key is or something like that. We can never replicate it because we don't know. Pro paint taster. I make all the wizards, but DM my PayPal.
Oh, here we go.
That's
Grant. Grant moonlighting on the side, giving up the corporate secrets.
Grant is a paint dealer.
Doom, chat. Thought we had this all figured out.
Chat, you will always get really good color names that are super accurate and not silly, but we also have a full set called Wizard's Butt, Fists of Wizard's Butt, and we're not trying to make you regret.
It was fistful of Wizard's Butt.
Well, it was handfuls, then it was all cheeked up, someone said. We had so many going on up in here. Let's see. Handful of butt, Wizard's Butt.
I like all
We're hiring chat. All cheeked up. Yeah, who said that?
The set's called hiring. We're hiring.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh my gosh. Right next to the plaid, eclectic salmon, 15 reasons, hot pink, and we're hiring Baines. The Dusty Hobby signature set. That's funny.
Chat, we're hiring.
That's right.
Alex, I have to warn you, I fire Christopher
Several
usually
times
at
a
least
day.
once a day.
Yeah, I'm fired. But then the amount of points that I have for myself rehires me. So
I don't know that I ever agreed to that.
I think we did.
The whole rehiring thing you agreed to.
I did.
You just keep showing.
That's right. You guys get paid? What? My wife spends the Punisher. My wife spends silly amounts of money on blind box purchases that I never understood. Discussing butt bundles, and suddenly I get it. That's what I'm saying. I'm chat. I don't know, man.
I love it. I love it.
Grant, wait, you make money? I get paid in paint. Wait a minute.
Hey, you know that in your contract it says you're not to discuss your pay.
I paid Jason $20 a day.
Chat, we're hiring. And I'm losing $20 a day, it seems.
Oh my gosh.
I'm losing $20 a day. So I'm just doing a very, very light filter.
Jiminy Gridman's Wizard's Butt is a cruel joke for my completionist OCD mind.
It really, you know what? I have to admit that when we did it the first time, I was like, this is really going to kill all those OCD people out there that are always giving us crap because our paints aren't in like the right. It's like the same thing that Khaki did, because Khaki came out in a set where its skew is out of order.
Oh, right.
Because it says finally on it. That's the secret. Or the Easter egg text on Khaki is finally, because I had been making that since it was supposed to be at the number that it really is. And we just couldn't settle on the color I liked.
Papa Chicken whiteboard idea. Epic subscript for a color. Whatever color is closest to green screen green would be the best to have a subscript as plaid. I don't know what you're talking about. We have plaid paint somewhere hidden in the mines.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's real.
That's right.
That's real. You know, we get yelled at. I got yelled at again today.
It's so funny.
Everybody's like, elite level shit post. I'm like, what? This is all real. And then somebody's like, what kind of AI crap is this?
It's real paint.
Somebody was like, I would never buy from an art company that uses AI like this. You just lost a customer.
AI, check the date. We're way before that.
I'm like, wait.
This is real.
I'm like, well, not real. This is hand done. Green chroma key.
That's right.
There's no AI.
Don't be. AI's not taking that from us. What are you talking about? We made plaid paint just for you.
It's fun just goosing those people.
I know. It's
After
so
the fact,
funny.
they're like,
Oh, Chuck. So in today's episode of Adventures in Machine Shops, I had to interview someone for this machine shop that I fired from the last machine shop.
oh, interesting.
Wow. That's a
Interesting.
sitcom episode right there, Chuck.
Interesting.
Voldemort, real question here. How would you blend paints with paintbrush and not making visible lines? When I use water, it dries too fast and it looks like oil spots. Do you use specific products or paints?
Well, we only use the paints we
Right.
make,
Mhm.
right? So as a manufacturer, we make a paint called Pro-Acryl. That's what you see us using on stream all the time. And so our paints blend very, very well. There are many ways to blend paint that will help you to not get that to happen. We talk about it a lot. There's a bunch of blending styles, right? Right now I'm glazing. Glazing is a way to visually blend colors. Takes longer because you're building it up in very thin, low opacity layers, right? That are hiding the layers underneath. So they're blending with the other colors you've already painted by going over the top of them at various levels. That is one way. Most of the way that you see me painting is by actually layering with opaque layers, one over the other. And then there's wet blending. And all of them can do the same thing, which is give you a nice visual blend of color, so that you don't have stark lines between one color and the next. But they all have their ups and downs and their learning curves associated with them. And that's the biggest issue that people run into, right? Is how do we go through and build up confidence for you and let you find the technique that makes the most sense. Wet blending is by far the hardest for most people that can give the coolest effect and let you do some really neat stuff. I typically only use it early on in my buildup of color. Layering I find to be a lot easier. So if you watch some of our videos, you'll see more and more of me doing that. And then of course glazing, glazing I think is one of the more advanced ones because it requires you to be comfortable using very thin paint, which can cause all sorts of problems. We have a Jen.
And Poppy.
And a Poppy.
Hello.
Poppy's just turning around. Oh.
Where are we, Mom? What are we doing, Mom? So you can see that the yellow that I'm putting on is so thin that it's maintaining the shine underneath and the shadow underneath too. So you can tell we're doing just a very, very thin coat right now in order to make that work. This just puts us all back into one material color. When we use like a pale yellow and a Payne's gray, it doesn't really make a lot of sense as to what in the world am I looking at. So this color makes them all come into focus as being part of the same piece of armor better. And then we go back and reinforce them where we need to, add more color, take it away, do whatever we need to do as we go. And this is all done with just water on my brush. You could be using glaze and wash medium here to make this a little easier for you, depending on where your confidence is with glazing.
Jen people have been requesting a Jen paint stream.
Yes. I don't know.
It's gonna happen, chat.
You should con her in here one of the days I'm
I'll con
gone this
her in.
week.
We'll con her in here.
I thought you were gonna say they were asking for Poppy.
I think they're
She's
asking
the
for
real
both.
star.
Ooh,
Now,
that
if
might actually
Poppy-
be tough, right? Because what would we do with Poppy while Jen was painting?
Right?
She could
She'll
run
just sit
around.
on
Freak
the whole
out.
time.
I
Jamie,
request a
let the
draw.
dog stream. Let the dog paint. That could be
Zambies.
fun.
Let the dog paint.
Have you guys seen those where they take a piece of paper and put it inside a Ziploc bag and like squeeze paint in it, and then they put peanut butter on the outside of the bag and let
Yeah.
the dog lick, and then it makes
It makes
the
it
dog painting.
make art.
Oh,
oh my gosh,
funny.
we should do that and make some art for the office. You want to do that? Paint?
And she says, "Is there peanut butter involved?" Hell yeah, I'm in.
Peanut butter? Sure. Why not?
A Shelby fly tying stream.
Yeah.
Is
I
that-
know.
is
We
that
just have to
something new
get
she's doing.
Shelby's. The last time I heard, she was trying out that. I don't know if she has or not. New heavy body acrylics are dog tested and dog approved, says Zambies.
There we go.
That's looking great.
Hey, Papa Chicken, thank you. I appreciate it.
A lot of good stuff, chat. If you're just now joining us, welcome in. Also, how dare you for showing up late? I have to do both sides to that coin now. Just to make sure everybody who is coming in feels welcome, but also ashamed at the same time.
Well, those
So-
wings look really cool.
They came out great, huh? We did
What's
those,
that? The wings?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
wings. Did the wings last week, chat. If you missed those VODs, check them out. The magic of the transparents.
That's transparent.
Mm-hmm. Transparent white over it, but then we
Okay.
did an underpaint on it. It was quite
What pink is that?
Dark hot pink.
Okay.
dark, hot pink.
Dark hot pink. But if you there's royal purple, there's jade, there's turquoise.
There's a
There's
lot
even
going
some
on.
bright green in there
Oh,
too,
Bright green.
and then
Okay,
warm
yeah.
yellow.
Yeah.
A lot of
Right,
good colors
so-
in there.
I mean, Jen approved colors for sure.
Yeah, as the
definitely was
palette
the-
was going down, I was like, oh my god,
It was a Gen palette for
this
sure.
is a Gen palette. Before we did the transparent white on it, it was pretty vivid and all over the place.
Which it was cool too before the white, but also,
Yeah, I mean, we even mentioned, you could choose to stop there if you were going for something. There were some people that were like, oh, I'm painting up demon wings
Yeah.
for my zine charmy. This is where I would stop. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that at all. When underpainting, if you find that the colors you're using are the colors you want, then stop there.
Mhm.
Or do less of the white over the top. Maybe you still want to desaturate it a little bit, but you don't want to go full bore.
yeah,
You have the opportunity to stop at any stage of the game when you're doing that kind of painting. You don't have to take it all the way to the finish line. And, again, I was kind of hinting at that earlier when I said that the process that you see me do can be used for lots of things, lots of outcomes, even though I may be using it for a specific one. Iridescent feathers is what we're going for. So I do this process. But what I'm hoping is that you guys and gals will find that, oh, I see what you did there. I think I could use that for XYZ.
yeah.
And then you run off and use the same thing. Like the flesh underpainting, I got a tremendous amount of people that came back and said, oh my God, I just went and I did this one thing that wasn't flesh and it turned out so good. Send me pictures and it's like, oh yeah, that works great.
Roaring Oblivion has a good question. If I add glaze and wash to heavy bodies, do I get normal paint, or is the pigment density different from the 22 mil range?
The pigment density is different. It has way more pigment per volume than any paint you're going to find. They are incredible. So if you're adding glaze and wash to it, you can do that, right? Your goal is to not be trying to make it as liquid as our normal range, because then you've just recreated our normal range. Why would you need the heavy bodies? The heavy bodies are going to be in large more translucent, because they are single or dual pigment hues for the most part. So they're going to have, and all that's listed on the tube, their translucence, how opaque they are, what their finish is. Some are a little bit more satin than others, but most of them fall into that very matte category. But they are meant as base paints or mixers. I mean, you can use them for anything. But as you saw me when I was painting with the Crone, the way that I put them into the mix is to create all of my underpainting with them, get all of my colors set with them, and then use the liquid paints for like most of my detailing. But yeah, you can do whatever you want to with them. You can only use those, and they will do everything you want, other than they make airbrushing a real chore. Because thinning them down for airbrush is probably not where you want to be. That's just too much work.
Papa Chicken.
Hey, can I just say something really quick before
Yeah.
I get that question? I just,
Please.
First of all, Mike Disney, hello. I just want to let you know, Mike, that you got a shout out last week. Someone sent us an email saying, I just want to let you guys know that I bought your stuff because of Mike Disney.
Mike Disney
really helped me become, grow as a painter.
That's
It was also-
awesome.
Yeah, it was like Thursday or Friday. I was gonna figure out a way to get in touch with you to
Nice.
share that, but you're here. So
Mike, I'm
yay.
glad those are. We're always happy to raid you when you're out there showing off our stuff. So thank you so much for doing that. That's great.
Mike's been around for a long time.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Mike. Papa
Okay, sorry,
Chicken.
you can get
No,
back to
you're
your-
good. Copied your technique for a one-off mini, painted bright yellow green from the left and bright yellow, or not bright yellow, bright jade from the right before doing an all-over transparent brown. Now the model looks like olive drab than brown. How could I have approached this smarter if I wanted to read a bit more as brown?
Okay, I gotta work through this process in my head.
Yep.
You started with jade.
Copy painted bright yellow green from the left and bright jade from the right before doing an all over transparent brown.
I guess I'd have to understand what you were going for.
Mm-hmm.
Those colors, because when we're underpainting, you've got to have a good foundational understanding of what those colors would do if you just mixed them, right? And so the browns and the greens are going to do that. They're going to give you kind of an odd olive drab, right? So let's see. Let's just talk about underpainting for brown first. You were wanting, what are these models, first off? Do we know?
Yeah, Papa Chicken, let us know how I could have approached this smarter if I wanted to read a bit more as brown.
So you could, if you want the color that you put on last as a glaze to read more as its true self and not pick up the underpainting, and you only want the underpainting to appear in certain areas, paint an opaque base tone that is in the range of the color you're overpainting with. So say ivory, right, with the brown. Okay, that's going to brighten it, right? Or, a yellow or an orange, depending on the brown you're using, and paint that into those areas. So you can imagine doing bright jade from one direction, whatever other color, bright yellow green from the other direction, then doing a zenithal of ivory. So now you have in the shadows, bright yellow green on one side, bright jade on the other side, ivory from the top. And then when you do the brown, you're going to get brown over the ivory that's going to stay brown. And then your shadows are going to remain those green colors. If I'm reading you right. You're saying you're getting an olive drab. If you're painting from an angle, so like when we did the wings, right, the white went on as a angled application so that up underneath doesn't get any of the white. I still get all my shadows up underneath the feathers and such. So we remember when we were applying the white, we were only doing it from above. Had I painted all this like I did and then painted brown over it, it would have looked like crap, right? Because the brown over the yellow, over the greens, over all that is going to give me whatever that color is, which is very muddy olive drab nonsense. And the pink and the brown would be horrible, right? But if I wanted brown feathers with that white iridescence in the underneath, I could have then sprayed a brighter color like an ivory, a dark ivory, something like that as a zenithal. And then I would have had that color from the top. From the bottom, all of the other colors I wanted, and then go ahead and spray the brown again. So you're setting a surface that's going to be opaque. You're not glazing with it. You're doing an opaque color like a zenithal highlight over the top that doesn't cover all those other colors in the shadows because you're just shooting it downward, right? And then now you've got ivory, crazy magentas and things. Then spray the brown from the same direction you sprayed the ivory. It just is there to colorize the ivory, right? And now you've got that brown that would give me brown feathers that when you turn it upside down were iridescent in the cracks. And that would look a lot better because the brown's not interacting with the colors it doesn't want to interact with, because browns are tough, man. Browns, when you mix them with anything other than brown and yellow and orange family colors, turn into mud, right? Because browns are yellows and oranges don't play well with all the other colors when you start mixing them in. Yellow does. It has a good effect, but even yellow greens out over a lot of colors. And so brown over any of those colors that have yellow, like yellow, bright yellow green, right? And even the bright jade to some extent, it's more of a blue, right? But you're going to get brown and blue together are not colors you would mix very often, right? So be thinking in terms of what the glaze topical color is and what you're putting it over. You could argue that flesh tones are browns, right? Because they're in that peachy, red, brown, yellow kind of range. Oranges too. And yet we put them over reds and magentas and bright yellow greens and things like that. But we're building up that peachy flesh tone, and it works. So where we get that kind of olive drab coloring is what we're meaning to get, because that's what's in our skin, is that weird olive drab yellowy brown, right? And that's fine, because that brings out a realism that doesn't become apparent in some other models. That make sense?
Papa Chicken, that's a perfect explanation. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, definitely. Since I don't know what you're going for, hopefully I gave you something that leads you to a solution there.
Yeah, those transparent colors. The Darth is saying his warm wood using the transparent brown is a great explanation of how to use the colors but still read brown.
Yep.
And Papa Chicken said he was painting Battletech.
Oh yeah, you've been working on a lot of Battletech lately.
Mm-hmm. Little Billy. Oh man,
Here
I
we
almost
go.
read that like a real question, Little Billy. Wow,
What?
look at that, Jen. You see what I gotta deal with, Jen?
Is this the first
Jen's
you
now
know?
seeing this, and look at this.
You
What-
should have been here earlier.
What paints do I have to use on Chris to make him look more interesting? Oh, Little Billy.
Little Billy has become Chris's arch nemesis.
I'm coming for
Do you
you.
know Little Billy? Is
Oh,
this
no.
a-
No, oh, do I know Little Billy?
He does.
Oh,
I mean,
I
now
know
you do.
Little Billy.
Now you do.
Oh, I know.
It's hilarious.
His name will be written on my tombstone alongside me. Lay Little Billy.
Earlier, Little Billy got a bunch of points. And my points. He got a bunch of Jason points for the way he treated Chris.
Aw.
Zambi, Chris needs ice tone for that burn. I need something. This is his
his
fault.
fault. What did you do,
I'll
Christopher?
get. He took my points. I'll get that. I get that, Little Billy. I'll take some credit. Did I finish?
Chris has been giving out points and taking away points
I have to
for
just.
no real reason.
Oh.
Oh
that's
no,
a thing?
there's reasons. There's reasons, Jen.
He's been
I
giving
have
out
very
points and
sorry-
taking away points. And so Little Billy said something, and then he goes, "Take away my points, you coward."
Like stream points?
Yeah, no, just Chris points.
Just Chris points.
Oh, just
These
like
are-
a metaphorical point.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
these are more. They're more like
If you
high.
talk to Chris, he believes in them.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, I believe in my
They're
points.
Minus
better.
50
That's
points for
Chris's
Chris.
crypto scam.
That's right. My
Are these like
goodness.
Harry Potter points?
That's right.
They're Potter points.
Lumberjack, I did not see the finish set, and I'll have to go back into chat and look at it. But yes, the points are real, but they're not real. So
Real, but
just
not.
need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
clarify
yeah.
that. That's right. Add those points up. The points are, you're my hero. Oh yeah, I'm glad you guys. Don't worry,
Oh.
they're worth as much as Chris's opinions. Whoa, Papa Chicken! Wow, you're banned. No, not Papa Chicken. That was Little Billy.
Yeah.
I read it as Papa Chicken because literally the next one was Papa Chicken. Chris, I'd like to cash in my points to get a pic of those colors you painted. Oh, okay. No, you can't do that. You can't cash in the points. Chris
Okay.
points are redeemable for Monument Hobbies products. False. That is not true. Zaz and Chris points are worth less than the Hawk Tua crypto. Wow. Wow.
All right. Well, on that note, Poppy and I are going to head out.
Jen, don't go.
Say
You're
goodbye
my
to the
only
crew.
shield. My only ally.
We gotta go
Poppy.
say goodbye, and then Poppy needs to get back to her nap.
Okay.
'Cause this has been a disruption.
Hearts for Jen. Jen, thank you.
Bye, everyone.
We appreciate you. Bye, Poppy. Bye, Jen. Bye, Little Billy, because you're banned for life.
Banned for life.
Little Billy. I know. I bring this upon myself, chat. I understand. I get it. I understand. I know where I stand. And it will be above Little Billy's grave.
Boom, boom, boom.
I wish I had that noise on this machine.
Boom, boom, boom.
Little Billy's firing me. Oh, Little Billy. It's probably because I just like saying Little Billy out loud. 'Cause
It's great.
It's one of those things that just, Little Billy.
It's like, Little Billy, how
Little
are you so
Billy.
mean to me?
I like the scream. I think the scream worked well. Yeah, this little sound box. You only get a couple of these a day, chat. That's it. Raids, subs, and debauchery, but only a little bit. We don't do that often, not unless it's a big giveaway day and there needs to be fun time, happy time. Win-win.
Fun time, happy time.
That's right.
Happy fun time.
Listen, Chris, says Papa Chicken. Out of all the Chris's that I've had the chance to listen to on this exact stream today, who are wearing those shoes you're wearing? You're my favorite. Oh, Papa Chicken. That's nice. I appreciate that. I did not mean to press that one. I tried to do the clapping one. I'm sorry. You get that one, Papa Chicken. Chuck, wow, I haven't been fired all day. Keep the
Who?
streak
Christopher or
going.
you?
That looks like Chuck.
Chuck hasn't been fired? Do we fire Chuck?
No.
We can't fire Chuck. Have we fired? I think we fired Chuck last week, though.
Little Billy, give me two more hours of fart sounds on stream, please. I'll stop being mean. Little Billy, you're not mean. You're just digging yourself a hole, Little Billy, that you'll have to escape from one day. Your points deficits will come after you. That's what happens. Get into too much Chris point deficit, and I don't even want to tell you what'll happen.
Well, Billy, I will
Bad
let you know
things.
this one unknown fact about Christopher. He is a grudge holder.
I never forget.
He never forgets.
That's
Not
me,
only does
Chad.
he never forget, he never lets you forget that he never forgets.
No, it's
he
not-
keeps telling you every day, hey, how about that time?
Gabe gets
you
the
did
brunt of
thing?"
that, I will admit. Gabe will get the brunt of that. Wad, I love Chris, but I would never cross someone whose motto was a space marine.
His motto was a
That's
space
right.
marine. She's been in here since then, and we have not really asked her how she enjoyed her time in the Astartes.
She she likes watching stream. She was telling me the other day, she's like, you know what? I was watching stream the other day and I was just getting lost in the painting. I'm like, that's the whole point, Ma. Ma!
Ma,
That's the whole point, Ma!
that's the whole Bob Ross of it.
Oh, oh man. Chris can hold grudges, but he can hold these nuts instead. Whoa!
Whoa.
You're in leagues with Gabe.
Whoa.
This is where it's
I think
come
Lil
from.
Billy is a Gabe account.
Man, if Lil Billy is Gabe's account,
I think Lil
will
Billy is
bring
Gabe.
the firestorm upon thee. Hey,
That would be so good if Lil Billy
if
was
it is,
Gabe.
I quit. I quit life. I'm done. If I find out that Lil Billy is Gabe, I will hunt Lil Billy
Hey, Lil
down
Billy, I need you to trade your account
with Gabe. So
to Monument Jabe.
I'm Gabe's op too. Hey, speaking of firestorm and quitting, because it's 4:00, Jason.
What?
It is 4:01.
No freaking way. Seriously?
Have you ever seen Paint Liquor? Or have you ever seen Lil Billy and Gabe in the same room?
No.
Oh, before I bullied Chris, I bullied Gabe at his direction. Okay, we'll see about that. I never forget. I will forgive, but I will never forget.
That's more than I get from him. He doesn't even forgive me.
Oh, I forgive Jason. Jason has so many good Chris points that he's got a surplus going. When you're in the negative, there's nothing I can do for you. There's just nothing. I try. I'm helping.
There's just
you.
nothing I can
Chat,
do for you.
I can't make these points grow on trees. It's impossible.
All right, so this is kind of where we are with the initial sketch. We're kind of right on time. Look at that, Chris.
That's right.
Look at that. I
Check
got to a
that
stopping
out.
point. So we were able to sketch in where I want my bright spots to be from this angle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we were able to keep our darker reflections going on over here. And then I glazed some of this bright yellow ochre over the top so that I could get the feel of how the gold will come together and where my mid-tone spots need to be. Then we start the real painting. So this is just another way to define the shine spots. As you see the glaze start to dry, the area where we had, pop in a closer zoom so I can focus in on some of these spots. Like right here on this knee. Right where I had the pale yellow.
Mm-hmm.
right across the top of the thigh. The glaze still leaves that. Then the dark reflection, then the brightness again, then the glaze. So now I've got my midtones and my dark reflection set up. Now it's about going back and fine tuning. I've lost my edge highlights. There's no blending here. So when you do it this way, you wind up with a messier stage for your coloring that you go back and fix in post, as Chris likes to say.
No!
Right? I didn't do any of this side, so I got to do some of this side. So we still got some work to do, but you see that it lays out the foundation. I've got my brighter secondary reflection down the calf and ankle area here. The glaze then gives me the midtones. The Payne's gray shows through as dark reflections where we put that. Then we go back and we paint those colors in deliberately. So we'll go back in like with the dark Payne's gray and we'll make a darker line in there. Right? So if I don't have any Payne's gray out here, so I can't really show you right now, but it will go in and it'll kind of define these better and de-blur them, so to speak. And then the highlights on the edges and everything will pull it all together. So
Nice.
just another way to kind of go about placing light on an object to define the shape and the volumes as you need them. That might help you if you start with your brighter colors first and say, where is the bright light going to hit these spots? Doing it with a zenithal highlight, doing it with a dry brush. There's lots of methods you could do to keep that direction. If I were doing this with a dry brush, I would just make sure that all of my brush strokes went from like light rays. They fall across the model in the direction from the light source or from the sun. So I would just hit the model this way, hit the model, hit the model, hit the model, hit the model, and it would get brightness on the side only where the light would hit. Dry brushing is going to be very much more abrupt. It's going to leave more texture, so it's something you got to be a little bit more careful with. But this gives us a good semblance of a starting point. This arm is looking really good here on the shine that we've got building up, right? So with a little bit of work, we'll be able to refine all that, make it smooth, make it look like we didn't just slap it together in an hour, and we'll be off and running. This model looks almost as good as a fully painted Chris. I don't know if you've ever seen a fully painted Chris. I've seen a half painted Chris, and it was a little scary.
That's right. I got to keep them wanting.
Ladies and germs, thank you so much for hanging out with us again. I hope your weekend was wonderful. Welcome back to another new week. I am not with you for the rest of the week. We saved the best statement or the worst statement as it was for last. You are now going to be with Baby J for Tuesday through Friday as I am traveling to Gamma. I will be in Louisville, Kentucky. If any of you happen to work for a store that's attending Gamma, please stop by and see us at the booth. I'll be there shaking babies and kissing hands. And Jordan will be here with Christopher and the team bringing you some awesome hobby goodness throughout the week. So treat Baby J well. And I will see you back here next Monday. If you're new around here, please hit the follow button. If you're on Twitch or the subscribe button over on YouTube, we stream to both platforms simultaneously, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time here from our HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. Remember, we are the manufacturers of all of this wonderful Pro Acryl paint. So next time you're looking for some hobby goods, check out the links that Chris put up in chat there, monumenthobbies.com. Take you where you can purchase some of your own. We'd love to see you try our paints. I think you'll be blown away. Also, the FLGS link that'll take you to a store in your part of the world or locale. We've got hundreds of stores worldwide that sell our products. Please give them a shout and make them your first point of reference when buying new hobby products. They're the people that keep the lights on and give you a spot to go hang out with your friends and do fun stuff in our world. We'd love to see you join the Discord, where as Ghost Hunter points out, we have 5,440 people in the Discord spooning with pencils with the most handsome streamer on the internet and a handful of butt. Now with more Jen and Poppy. Ghost Hunter, you never fail me. Thank you, my friend. Do join us on the Discord. We have over 5,000 amazing artists just like you guys out there. Great inspiration, horrible jokes, shots of nerd food and pets, and all sorts of great stuff. So come hang out. Great community, and you get a direct line to all of us internally at Monument Hobbies to ask questions and get the word straight from the horse's mouth. Have a fun week without me, and I hope you miss me tons. I will miss you. We'll catch you back here tomorrow with Baby J. Adios, gang. We're out.